So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be implementing the WebSocket server today. It should go pretty quickly. We're going to do both a client as well as a server. On the server, we're actually going to just write it into allie.chat. So we're going to create a new BLL for this, I think, that's going to hold all of our instances, similar to what we did for TCP connection, where we have the TCP async client server. We're going to be doing the same thing for WebSocket Sharp. It may seem a little redundant, but it creates consistency across my base classes. We're using WebSocket Sharp. It's a open source library it's maintained by the community, right? It's really going to alleviate a lot of development time instead of having to write in all of our HTTP requests and handshakes and such. So there's a protocol out there for WebSockets, and I'll put that up at the bottom of the stream when we get this posted. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at my WebSocket Sharp documentation. Okay, here it is. Let's go ahead and clone it. So I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. We're going to run back to get. We'll do a clone. Let me change where I need to place it, because this one doesn't go in my project. It is a different place. Okay, and then we can go ahead and we can say that we're going to create WebSocket Sharp for it. And I can just change the naming to make me happy. And we'll make this a personal repository, and we'll clone. Modify, edit it. It was done 5 days ago. That's a good sign. So here in resources, let's go ahead and bring in another one. I'll bring it into a solution just in case, and we're going to say that this is WebSocket Sharp. We're going to add an existing project from, let me select that location. Okay, I can change here to select a solution file, and we'll just import everything. It says, these projects are either supported or need project behavior modifications to open in this version. One way will automatically will not be able to. You will not be able to open these versions in the version of Visual Studio in which they were originally created. That's me for WebSocket. My own PHS apparently for some reason, probably because it's made in 4.62. Either PHS requires migrations and therefore cannot be added to the currently either open the solution or add it manually. All right, let me do this a different way, where we're going to do an existing project in here, and we can just do WebSocket Sharp here, and we can just select the client. That's fine. There it is. Let's go ahead and try to build it. Okay, it says build succeeded. What version is this running? 3.5? Well, that's awesome. If it's running 3.5, you can still use this in Unity. Let's change the assembly name. Nah, I don't want to mess with them that much. And that should be fine. So let's go now, and we need to create a new client in here, and we're going to make a new test client. We're going to make a new client application. And this one's going to be a console application in .NET Framework. And let's create that here in my clients. And then we'll make a new folder in here called test client. Well, we don't need to do that. What we can do is just like this. Test client. Okay, let's go back to our WebSocket Sharp documentation here. Okay, here, we need to create a new WebSocket, right? And this one's going to be a client. So let's go ahead and implement this. It says that over here I do a using a var WebSocket equals a new WebSocket. And then it needs a URL here. Now this one, I should be able to add a reference here over to Discord net, probably core, probably WebSocket. I don't know, we'll just do that, see what it needs. Let's go ahead and import the namespace. Oops, wrong ones. It wants WebSocket Sharp. Couldn't you do using WebSocket Sharp? Try it again. Add a reference here. Okay, let's try it a different way. Add reference to WebSocket Sharp. Weird. And I added those two, so that was strange. I guess there's another one. Whatever. Oh, you were adding the Discord ones. Let's go ahead and remove those. This is WebSocket Sharp. Apologies about that. Okay, we need to add in the URL here. And the one that we're going to use is WebSocket://. And we could just do localhost. And probably do this on, I do this on a port, I'm assuming, right? So we could do 8109. And then we use WSS. If we change the prefix here, it'll change it over to secure, but we're not secure at the moment. We will be before production. And then we should be able just to do like a on message here, plus equals to, and then it's asynchronous. So it wants me to do like a asynchronous sender and then an E, which is passed to a, sorry, it's still early. Okay. Hey there, Dat Nerd 82. I'm doing great, man. How are you doing this morning? Now here, why is this upset with me? This lacks the, what the heck did I just do? Okay. And now here, what we want to do is it wants me to do a console.writeLine, and it wants me to do e.data. Let's go ahead and add console in here. And we could just await task.fromResult of an object null. Okay. Looks like we have a connect method. And then also a but I bet you that's not going to work because well, this is running synchronously, right? We don't want that, but this will work for the initial one. And then we want to do console.readLine. You could do while true. Apologies. I'm good. I'm enjoying getting this project done. This is the last piece on it in the proof of concept, and then we just have to clean everything up. I guess we still have to make sure that the Discord bot can work for your own, but that's pretty easy. We already have OAuth authorization 2 set up in the other protocol. We just have to make sure that we're storing OAuth tokens for each one of those. Okay, and then we have some identity server work. So here, this should be enough to get started, right? I don't need to have an explanation of what's happening here. So you have a couple of different events in here. You have WS dot on close, on error, on message, on open, easy enough. On open, what happens when it's been established? So we could just make a note of that. On open happens after the when the connection has been established. I don't need to know what message is. Message of Args E. I guess you could read this with me. It's mainly used to send as a binary message, which is fine. We need to notify that a ping has been received via the event. You should use emit on ping property is equal to true. So let's just do that so we don't lose it. So we can do ws dot, oh, that is already there on the message. So we can do if e dot ping, then console dot write line, ping received, pong responded. I have a question about setting a local host on my computer, having a hard time getting it up and running the way I need to. Thought maybe you can help me with that. Well, what are you using for your server? I use ASP.NET. Some people use Node. What are you using for, or you could write something like an HTTP server in Visual Studio. What are you using to maintain that? I hate this song. Okay. Well, we have an on-close event here, so we want to do something with that, right? On-close happens when the connection is closed. Easy enough. We'll fire an event for that. We have a connect here, but you can also do a ws.connect async. And then you can send data, but you could also use send to async. And we're going to write the async methods into our. And if you want to do anything, you should use the completed delegate bool, don't care. WebSocket close, don't care. Do you have close asynchronous? You do. So then you have ws.close async, and then you have ws.close. And that's it. That's easy. So that's our client. This is just a test client. It's nothing special, right? Now we need to write our server. So to do that, we're going to, he's using Node.js and brackets IO for the text editor. I don't know what brackets IO is, just a second. A modern open source text editor. Okay, what's the problem happening? Are you getting Node to spin up? So what you should do is open a command prompt or PowerShell and type node-v. And you can see that it should tell you what your version is. To see if npm is installed, you do npm-v. And it is. That would be the first step. Okay, let's write our server now. So here in the module under allie.chat, nope, it's not. We're going to do it as a resource down here, and we're going to make a new WebSocket Sharp, and we're going to write a new one. And we're going to call this and we'll put this here in resources. Actually, we'll put this in a different place. I want to put this in a Visual Studio projects, and we're going to say that this is servers and clients. And we're going to make another one here. We're going to say WebSocket async server client. Oops, you're a dummy. You just need a class library in there. And that's here in the okay. So we're going to go ahead and change this one to be WebSocket client server. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this so you can read a little better. We don't, well, we'll leave those things for now. Okay? Yeah, we don't need them. So to do the server, what we need to do is, it's it's something that inherits from a WebSocket behavior. So to do that, we do WebSocket behavior. And I believe this is similar to a hub in how they've set this up, a hub in SignalR. So now in here, we have a couple of protected methods that are exposed, right? On close, on error, on open. We can do on message, and then we can do protected, override, void, on error. Okay. Okay, so now we can write in different events that we want to have happen here. So when you connect here, we could fire an on open, we could fire an on close, we could fire an on message, we could fire an on error, and that's exactly what we're going to do. But we still haven't created anything that can connect here. So we need to have a WebSocket server, and we're going to call this a WebSocket server, right? And we'll make this a protected in here. And we might as well have a public void start. And now we can instantiate it. And we need to pass in that ws://localhost:8109. And then we want to add the WebSocket service here, which is WebSocket server. You need to pass in here a path. So we could say that this is like my test. We'll have to look up what that means in just a little bit. And then we should start it. And then we should have a, so let's change this a little bit. We're going to have a new class in here called a base WebSocket behavior. Don't spell it British. You might as well. And we can create a new class and a new folder in here called behaviors. And let's create a new class in here called, and the first one that we want to make is a default behavior default. Let's actually just call it a behavior chat. And again, this one was inheriting from a WebSocket behavior. They decided they wanted to spell it American. Okay. Everything is installed. Hello. Hey, Super Crack YouTube. Welcome. How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, please put them into the channel. Also, we also have a YouTube where all these videos go up. So make sure you check that out. Super Crack YouTube at youtube.com/c/liberdevtrying. Thanks again for checking us out. Okay, let's do that. And then here, we'll remove that. That's looking pretty good. And now I can just save myself some effort by doing this as a base WebSocket behavior. Sorry, as a WebSocket behavior. And then this one needs to be here, and this is a public. And you never can create an instance of it, so it's an abstract class. So behavior chat is inheriting from my base WebSocket behavior. So down here, when you're overriding this on open, on close, on error, we're going to put this in my behavior chat. Which means that this server doesn't have this anymore. And now what we probably want to do is implement these. So we probably want to have something in here like a public void called add service. and it's going to take a type of T, where T is a type of WebSocket server. Service, behavior, WebSocket behavior. Why not use SignalR? It says in Xanet, I am using SignalR. I'm using SignalR as my data transport layer between the MVC and then also the services layer. Okay, but because this is being set up for third parties to both connect their own TCP servers and then their own WebSocket servers, I really don't want to have to rely on any of the things that SignalR has built in there for connecting to proxies. When I've tried to connect to SignalR outside of using SignalR, it's been a little complicated. So this is the universal WebSocket protocol, which I'm opening up here, even though it's very similar. So I can help you making the bot. I don't know anything about coding. What are you saying? What are you thinking? Give me some ideas. Tell me what you're thinking. All right. So here, when we add this service, we want to pass in here the type of B. It's called behavior. And now we want to do a WebSocket service, and we want to pass in my type T. Sorry, add WebSocket service of type T. And then we need to pass in a paths. So we can do a string path. Now, what's the point of this? T must be a non-abstract type. Okay, my phone's going nuts. Just a second. Or is that in the song? I think that's the song. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Okay, let's keep going. So here, this is a base WebSocket behavior, right? And it doesn't want this to be a abstract. And it can't be an abstract, it says. T must be a public parameterless constructor It is. I don't see a constructor on this. This one needs to be base WebSocket behavior. Let's just try that. It's so fascinating that it won't let me do that. Are you auditorily hallucinating, friend? It was in the song is what it was. It was so funny. Supercrack YouTubes asks, is it a bot like MooBot? What it is, it's an RSS routing service that takes messages from all different sources, and then it will route them into different streams, right? So if you're like, oh, I want to get events when somebody goes into Discord and starts talking, right? Then you could have that, have a stream exposed that then goes to, if you're a client, like just a regular end user, you could go on the website and go to a chat and receive that. So like if you follow like all the people on my Twitch team, you could just add them and have one chat where all the messages are going into, then it's maintained for you. But it's set up as backend as a service so that you can connect to this either using TCP or WebSocket, which we're doing right now. And that's all set up with tokens for you and everything so that you can actually just send your own messages across and then you can pull it. So for me, I came up with this because I didn't want to have to continue making the same networking things over and over for the same projects. So this is just kind of one larger project that will allow me to simplify all my networking means as I go forward. And I made it so that other people can use it as well, since it's all using OAuth 2.0 protocols and everything. Okay. So this is really weird. It has to, T must be a non-abstract type with a parameterless constructor. In order to use it as a parameter, T behavior with new, and then a generic type, add WebSocket service. I just want to look at this real quick. This says that it has to be a type of T behavior with new is a type of WebSocket behavior. So let's do this. Is this what it wants? That's what it wanted. So the base behavior will be null, and now we can do base WebSocket behave your. Perfect. And we're going to make this a virtual so that you can override it if you need to later. And now here, since we're doing a start here, we're going to just start the service. We can add WebSocket behaviors after. Let's find that out. Maybe I can put it in chat. I know. I'm not doing it that way. I want this extendable. Yes. Creating the new version. You can add any WebSocket service you want with the specified behavior and absolute path. Must inherit. You have to add to, and then you have to start it. So you always have to do that. So right here, if my WebSocket does not equal to null, then we want to make sure that it is disconnected and everything. So you can do a WebSocket server.disconnect, connect stop. And is that awaitable? Nope. Okay, and if that happens, then you can do a WebSocket.dispose. I thought that was supposed to be disposable. My bad, it was null. And then you'll want to make a new one here. So here, you should just make a new method here called public void stop. And then we should make this one a bool, and we can say return, try, and we'll add a catch down here, and we'll say that this is going to be a return false. Right there, okay? And now this one also should be a bool. And then who knows? Bang. Okay, easy enough. And then here you want to add a service. Let's go ahead and do this here again. And you want to do in your class, when you instantiate this, you want to pass an I collection of your T which are going to be called your services. Oh, you can't do it here. Sorry, it has to be done here. Where, and now this is an I collection of your T called your services. We need to add this one. And now here, you want to do for each var service and services, you want to do a add service your service here. And then your path. So we need to make sure that in your services here, that this thing includes a path. So we can just do it like this, string, and we'll say that this is a path. So now if my service.path is null or whatever, string, so if it's not, string is null or white space, then what you want to do is you want to add the service. And that's going to be service.path. And then you'll start it. So you have a start, you have a stop. Let's go ahead and make this disposable. so that we can do a virtual on it. I guess we also want to do that here, right? And now on dispose, we want to say if my, we can just do a stop. Okay. Now, on your base WebSocket behavior, you have these that you can use. Now, this thing is telling me that these things doesn't have anything to overwrite. So why is that? Interesting. That is so interesting. They look exactly the same. Okay. So let's go ahead and make an event in here. We need to make a new folder, and we're going to say that this is events. And we'll make a new class in here, and we're going to say that this is a WebSocket event handlers, or we could just call this event handlers, right? And then we also need to make a new folder in here called Args. And since this is going to be a standalone client, we're just going to make a new class in here called base Args. Yeah, we'll do a public here, and it'll be abstract, and it'll be inheriting from event Args. And what do we need is a numerator in here, right? Of my public Anoon called my Args type. Hey there, the Bayek brand. Thank you for that follow, buddy. Appreciate that. If you have any questions, please put them in the channel. We have a really active and supportive community over here at the Discord. Love to have you as a part of it, buddy. That's a great place, great resource if you're a developer looking for anything. And then also all these videos are up on YouTube, which is youtube.com/c/liberdevtrying. Let me just put that one up here too. Okay, so now my args type here, we're going to say that this is an args type, and we can say args type. I think we'll just call it type. I don't think that'll mess anything up. And so the first one that we have is a connect args. So we have a connection args. We have a message args, right? And then we have a join args probably, and then probably like a leave args. I don't know, we'll just start with those two. Let's move this to a new folder in here that we call Anooms. Sorry, it doesn't go in a class. It's just in this file for organization, which means we can come back over here like this. Yeah, that one. Okay. And now we need to have this overridden for a connection event args. And for this, we'll do a public, and it's going to be inheriting from my base args, like that. And we have a Anoon in here called connection event type. I want to say that this is going to be connect, disconnect, and there's also connecting. So we need to make sure that we have a connection event type. Let's move this over to Anooms. And now the other thing that we need to do is Yes. I need to look at the connection event args, this one, and we need to make sure that this gets inherited. And this isn't done because this also needs to have an ID on it, right? So we do a prop GUID, I'm going to call this ID equals equals GUID.new GUID, right? And we want to call this a key. And then also we want to say that this probably has a JSON property, which is going to be called property name equals ID lowercase with that little underscore. Then we need to do the same thing here for a timestamp. I'm sorry, it's a date time. And we're going to make that a datetime.utc now. All right. So now in our event handlers, again, no class, it's just the namespace. What we want is a public delegate void WebSocket event handler. And it's going to pass over an object called mySender and then a base args e. So now back here, all the way back here on my behavior, this is where we can fire the event here. So we need to have we want to stay in the class, right? I guess here we'll want to have something here called a public void set path. No, you don't want to do that. You need to set the path when it's being created. So we'll figure that out here in just a second. We'll pull that for now. But on this thing, we want to have a protected event. And there's no such thing as a protected event. That doesn't work when I've tried it a bunch. Private event, and this is going to be called a WebSocket event handler. Right? And we're just going to call this a WebSocket event. So here you can have something called a on open here. This means that you're going to actually get connected. So you're going to have a if my WebSocket event is not equal to null, then we want to have the WebSocket event fire on this is going to have a new one of these base args, which is called a connection event args. Now this is going to yell at me because it needs to tell me that it should be doing this now. They changed the syntax of this thing. And we're going to fire the event here where we're going to pass in my connection event type, which is going to be connect. My timestamp we don't care about, but my type is going to be connection. And I don't need to have type anymore. So on base args, we can actually kill this. And then back on enums, we can get rid of type. Now on close, we'll do the same thing, except this one's going to be disconnected. And now on message, so let's make another args in here called a message event args. This would be a public and it's inheriting from base args. And we want to have a public Anoon here called a message event type. And we're going to have one which is called sent received. And we'll just add that here. It's a message event type called a message event type. Move this over to enums, like that. Now let's see what else we can need in this. So if we go back to our WebSocket behavior, so this thing says that there is no suitable method to override. So let's see what's wrong. It just doesn't have the class in here, right? Oh, it's because it needs to have the qualifier because you already have something else called message event args. Okay. And now you can have this event, except you're going to fire a message event args. And this time, I'm going to pull this up over here. Now we can take a look at what events we can expose here. So I should have this passing over a new base message or something. We just wanted to have disconnect. We should have something on here called a, what? This one needs to be, what? Sorry about that. And now this one, we need to make sure that we have a protected, I'm sorry. It's a string here called message raw. Could do a bool here called isPing. Why not? I guess you have another one on here called bool. Is text. This is well written. I'm looking at the source code over here, and this is very well written. We have something here called data. And that's it. Now, it says that there's a chance to have something set to binary here, but I don't see. Raw data is bytes. So let's change this to be public byte raw data raw. Which means you need to have something here called public bool is binary. And that looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and do this. Now in this base WebSocket behavior, I could just auto map this, right? I just don't think we need to. So this one should be data equals e dot data. Data raw equals e dot data raw. Is binary equals is binary. Is ping equals e dot is ping. Is text equals e dot is text. Message event type equals, we don't know what that is yet. If I look at e dot, this is received, definitely. And my timestamp and my ID. What's the other ones that you have in here? Raw data is ping is binary data. That's it. And the final one is on error. If we look at this, at my public properties, we have an exception and a message, and that's it. That's easy. Over here on our events, we want to add in one more called error events, args. And it was just going to be of my base args, right? And we want to add in here a message, and then also a, what was the other one? It was a exception. Which we can just fire here. What's the problem here? It's ambiguous. This one is my events. This one is my WebSocket Sharp, right? My exemption is equal to e.exception. My message is equal to e.message. That's easy. So now this way I'm not dependent. And that fires the events when I need them for my base WebSocket behavior. So we need to make sure that that's exposed here. Public event called my WebSocket event. And we're going to add the WebSocket event plus equal to the value, and then we need to remove the WebSocket event from the value. And I think that that's pretty good there. Let's move this into behaviors and change the namespace here to include a .behaviors. We'll add an S to the end of that. And then we want to do the same thing here. And that's because this one needs to be a abstract. Can I do that? No, it can't because it told me that it couldn't. It needed to be a perfect. So this is my client. So let's move this out of, oh, this is the server, I'm sorry. So we have to make a couple changes. The first thing is this service here. You need to make a new class. We'll make a new folder in here called models, and this thing's going to be called a WebSocket service model. And it's going to have a public. And in this, it's going to have a one of these behaviors. So like this. And now here you should have a T called your behavior, and then a string here called your path. So this is a collection here of these WebSocket service model. What's the problem here? It says it takes a type argument. So let's do that. And we're going to say that that's of type U. Where U is a type of that. Bam. Now my service here is going to be of type U. And now here this is going to be of type behavior. Let's also pass in here a string here for my WebSocket path. Or what do you call that? It's a URL, WebSocket URL. This should be a protected virtual ad service. I think that that's it for the server. So let's create the client. We'll make a new class here. It's going to be called a WebSocket client. Actually, if you look back at the server, let's just make sure that we have this as WebSocket Sharp here, because that is incredibly close. And then, I guess I still don't have a send and a receive, and I don't have a list of clients that are attached. But each client gets attached to the base web service model, right? So here, if you look at the behavior again, when you have something that is on connection, no, because you're the one that's connecting to this. There isn't anything like on connection because you're going to be broadcasting to the hub. So you don't need to worry about clients. So how do you send? It's on your WebSocket send. So you should be like a public virtual bool called send message. They've also set this up to be an HTTP server, but I don't care about that. I'm looking at the documentation over here, right? So add WebSocket server. We want this chat with a new chat. On message here. This is what I wanted. And you can have sessions.broadcast. So sessions is the answer. So here, can you save these? You want to have like a protected I collection of your U. Do you want this to be in your, when you create this? If you did this correctly, this will be extending this T. So you could say that when you start it, you're going to be passing in your number of services, which are always going to be inheriting from this. So it should be this. And then if you look back at this, you don't need all this. You can just do this one. Save it so that it's easier on yourself. Which means you don't need this one now. Actually, you do need base WebSocket behavior. No, you can get rid of both of these. And what's happening here? Oh, it's just this one. And this is going to be called your services. Down here under stop now, or add service, all that still seems fine, right? Add service is saying that this is going to be passing in a type. But it's fine because they're going to be overloaded with the ones that you want. And then here, you can add it. So when you send a message here, it's WebSocket server dot, and then you have start, stop, user credential finder, SSL credential, WebSocket services dot. Broadcast, add service, broad ping, clear, keep, paths, session count, wait time. Broadcast does a send to every client in the WebSocket services. So is it called sessions now? Oh, it's not in this one, is it? It would be in this behavior. You would have something here called on message. You have something here called a send. And you want to say send message here, right? And it's going to be sessions dot broadcast async. Is this one the deprecated one? It's not. Sweet. So you can broadcast async here. Can you send this to a specific, oh, this is going to send it to everybody in this behavior, which is perfect. So we want to send, this is going to be called a broadcast message all. So this is going to broadcast this to anybody who's connected to this one behavior. You're going to have a separate path for your individual channels. So this is perfect. And you want to broadcast here your, what are your overloads? You do a stream, you can do data, you can do a, okay. This you're going to do a message all asynchronous here. This needs to be a asynchronous virtual void, sorry, task. Hey there, Zachary, welcome back. How's it going today? Okay. And now we need to await this, and we're going to be passing in the string message and our action sends data asynchronously, system action delegate or null if needed. So we'd be able to have it do something after it's finished sending that, but we don't need to. What's wrong here? It says that this is void. So let me see what that is all about here. Broadcast E plus. It doesn't even have broadcast async in here. It just wants me to say broadcast. Like that. So if we did asynchronous, this would be a void. So now we could do a public void, I'm sorry, protected virtual void, and we could say broadcast message all callback. And I bet you could just do this. It's not async now because it's doing this weird. This is where the broadcast message all callbacks will be registered. And we're having these virtuals so that you can overload them, okay? Now, is there a way to send this to an individual client? I don't think so. Hold on. Okay, now it says that I can do this in a couple of different ways, right? It says that I could do this one, and I could say that this is null, and then I could also do a public base WebSocket behavior where I pass in a string, and it's going to be a we want to say that we have a path, and then we want to say string end of line characters. So that here you could just have a protected string called path, and you could have a protected string called end of line characters. We'll assign those here. stupid. What's going on here? Hey, who is that there? No love lost. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate that. If you have any questions, please put them into the channel. Also, make sure that you check out the YouTube and join the Discord. I think I put links already up there as well. So thanks again for checking us out. I think that this will work just fine. And now, you're creating the new instance of it, and then you're creating the new chat. Now, if you wanted in your WebSocket here where you're creating this, instead of doing an add service, you want to do a add WebSocket service of type T, and we want to say that my path is going to be / plus this path name, and then you can say that asynchronously you want to call that new constructor with it. I guess it's not asynchronous for this call. And you want to do a new version of T. And you're going to pass in your T dot path, and then your T dot, sorry, you need to make sure that on this thing that you can pass in a path and an end of line characters. And this is from the documentation. No, I mean, not exactly. So it says that T here can't create it of type. Interesting. That's interesting. So it's not going to let me add my path or end of line characters until I call it, it seems, right? So this is lame. So we could change this here to go back the other way. Okay. Which means here, when we're adding our service and we're starting this base behavior, you should have something here which is called, sorry, you just want to say this is a base void set properties. Okay. So you should do a service dot set s dot behavior dot set properties, and you want to pass in your service dot path, and then you want to have your string end of line characters. Bam. Easy enough. Now here in send message, it doesn't actually go here. It has to be for each one of your different services, right? So if you look up here at your model, you have a path, you have a behavior. So you could definitely do it like this. You could send this to the path. And then what you want to do is your var service is equal to your, and you're going to get your services dot, where singular default. We need to add a reference to link here. S where my s dot path dot trim dot to lower is equal to my path dot to lower. Okay. Now if my service does not equal to null, then what you want to do is send message, behavior dot send message, and then we're going to say the message here. And otherwise you're going to do a try and then a catch, and then you'll do a return false. I want to know. So let's look at this again. You need to make sure that you have something here called send message, broadcast message, all. So we're going to say that this is send message all. So we'll say broadcast all in behavior. So here, let's say that this is going to be a name, because over here in the model for this, we're going to add another one in here called a name, or an ID, or a type. Let's go back over here. We're going to do this as an iDictionary of a string dot values, and we want to get the one where the path, the name trim.toLower is equal to my name dot trim.toLower. Looks good. And then we're going to broadcast it if it in fact finds it. Okay, I think that's looking pretty great. So we have a send, message, all clients in behavior. Start, stop, send message, and then we also need to have those events for when messages are received. So here on your start, when you have your, this one, you want to do a services equals a new dictionary of type string web service model, WebSocket service model. And then what you want to do is for each var service and services, you want to do a services.add, and it's going to be the service.name, and then also the value, which is going to be service. And the reason we're doing that is so down here when we're searching, we can make this a lot faster when we're sending this message here. So we can say services dot try get value, so if my try get value, and we'll call this a name. We're going to change that to be a service name. It'll be out var service. Then you'll broadcast. And we'll do this as sync, because we get an asynchronous callback if we do this one. Okay, I think that that one's pretty good. Because we don't have events on here yet for when we receive a message, so let's do that. When we do add a service here, we're passing in this behavior. So we have a behavior dot event, WebSocket event plus equals to, and this is going to say on WebSocket behavior event. And we should do this as a bool. If my behavior does not equal to null, then you want to do this stuff. So now here, for each one of these, if my WebSocket server does not equal to null, for each var service and services, if my service does not equal to null, then what you want to do is your service.event on WebSocket behavior event. So this needs to now say that this is going to return true, and this one's going to return false. This is a protected virtual. And now here, we'll just do another one. I believe I can just do a public event WebSocket behavior, WebSocket event handler. I can WebSocket event. And now I can do a add. And then also a remove on this. We need to have a WebSocket event plus equals to a value, and then this one is a WebSocket event minus equal to the value. And now we're going to say if my WebSocket of server event is not equal to null, then what you want to do is you're saying that this one's returning this as a type of base args, which is right. So now you're going to do a WebSocket event where you're going to send of your sender and then E. And actually you're supposed to do it like this, invoke with a question mark now. Let's go add the event, private event, WebSocket event handler, and that looks pretty good. So that'll expose all the events. We definitely have a WebSocket behavior event. We have a message event, don't we? Yeah. And we're just going to evoke that. Okay, so we're good there. Now we can actually extract the interface on this thing. That looks pretty great. We have our WebSocket event, we have our dispose, our send message, our start, and our stop. So let's finish the client. We had our client created over here, And then we had already created it in we made a test app client application for it. And so we're just going to grab all of this and bring this in here. We'll call this a public WebSocket client, right? And we'll do this with a constructor and also as a iDisposable. Now here you're going to want to have a base thing in here, right, called core. So if you look at the server here at the interface, and why don't we do core as a interface right now so that I don't confuse myself with too much. And we'll call this a public interface. And now if I look back at the server, I should be able just to say that we have start, but start is requiring a set of services here, so that's different. Stop, dispose, and a WebSocket event. Okay, I guess on this one we could definitely say that you have a WebSocket event. Outside of that, I don't think there's really anything. You could have send message to all clients and behavior, but you still have to have your service name. Okay. And we'll make that this inherits from iCore as well. So now here, we need to have something called a public connect start. And you need to have a URL here. And you're going to have a WebSocket in this thing, protected WebSocket client equals a new equal, we're going to say that that is a type WebSocket, which is inheriting from WebSocket Sharp. So here, you're going to have something that which is an on message, and you're going to start this asynchronous thing here called a protected virtual void on message event. And actually this needs to be a virtual asynchronous task, right? As of right here. And we're going to be passing in here an object called a sender, and then also an event args called an E or something. Now this is a message event args. So you can grab this stuff and here you could do a on message event. Now, you have to make sure that you fire this as an asynchronous method. So this is going to be an S, and then, come on, I know what I want. And then we're going to await on it, like this, S, and then an E. You're either one of those annoying morning guys or you've been at this too long, says Sirloin WD. What do you mean? I get up super early. Welcome to that world. Insomnia is a thing. Okay? This here looks pretty good all around though, right? We need to make sure that we unsubscribe this at stop. If my WebSocket client.on does not equal to null. And then you should be able to do like a WebSocket client.stop. So here you could do this as a public virtual asynchronous task called start. I just want to make sure that now you still can't. I don't think you can do it like this. Even if it's in an asynchronous method. Nope. Okay. And here I want to do a start asynchronous. And then here we can do a WebSocket client.start connect asynchronous, which is a void. I don't know why they have it like this. Annoying sharp productive. Annoyingly sharp / productive. Yeah, in the morning I am. Yeah, you got that right, actually. Okay, this thing is just it's not actually an asynchronous. I don't know why they're doing that crap, but I'm going to leave it that way because they're wrong. Await task from result. No, they're not. We'll just say start, and we'll do it as a void. I just wish they didn't do that. And now here you could do stop. Close. Asynchronously. Now it comes with a couple of overloads. I don't care, that's fine. And now you need to have something up here to be like a protected bool is protected volatile bool is running. Because here, when you have start, you can say if it is not running, then you want to connect asynchronously. And then we can do a try and then a catch on it. And then here we can return a false. Actually, we don't care about that. Okay. Just fine. So here, then, you have this, you need to have a dispose in here, right? Public virtual void dispose. And in this thing, you're going to have a stop and then a while it is running. Then you want to do a thread.sleep for 200 milliseconds. And then you're going to dispose everything. So here on stop, you need to have something here called a protected override. Nope, it's up here. You can do a WebSocket client.on open. No, on close. On close. And all you're going to do is here a is running equals false. And we can do a protected virtual on that again. And let's put this down here. Okay, so up here, let's make sure that we're subscribing all of the ones that we want. We can do WebSocket.onOpen. And then also on error. We'll take these two and move them down here. We'll move on open above on close. We'll move on message event above on error. This will be a protected virtual void on open. We're not doing anything on it. On close. on message event here. I don't know why you have it like this. And then here a protected virtual void on error. Like that. Okay. Let's make sure that we have all these in our stop. We don't yet. Okay. We need to make sure that we have a private event in here called a WebSocket event handler. Remember, this isn't core. Let's make sure that this one has that too. So you can just make core here. Almost done. This is a public. Oops, sorry. And I can bring over the WebSocket event like that, and the event here at the bottom, and bring this one in. You can say that this is called iCore, and then that's it. I guess you'll also want to have a public class, public void called fire WebSocket event. And it's going to pass in the object for my sender and then also the base args. And now all it's going to be is your WebSocket event. If it is there, you want to invoke the new sender and args. Let's do this as a protected virtual void. Okay. So this one will now be inheriting from core. We don't need that event anymore. So now here on open, we can do a fire WebSocket event here. That's going to be passing my sender and then my E for each of these. Okay, this thing needs to be a new error event args. This needs to be a reference. Huh? This comes from the events in here. You coded one called event error args, right? Like that. This one has the exemption, the message, and that's it. This one here is going to be the new message event args, and it's going to be the same deal. Data equals e.data, data raw equals e.data raw. Is binary equals is binary. I could definitely do like an auto mapper, but I don't really want to do that with their objects. Message event type equals received, and that's it. This one here is a You want to do it like that. Well, actually we don't, because it's going to be waiting for dispose, and we'll get an error if we don't do it that way. And now you want to do E, new, connection event args, which is going to be this connection event type.disconnect, and then that's it. And then the last one here is a new event.args. And that's going to be my message connection event args. And this one's going to be disconnected or connected. And that's that one. And now here, this one is on your start. Now you can say connecting. And my sender will be this. Oh, it's my sender is this WebSocket client. So this we could say stop asynchronously, which I'm okay with. This one we can say start asynchronously. Oops. Because we also should have the other one in here. Or we could do the same thing, and it's going to be called a start, like that. We'll just say this one's connect. And then same thing here. And these need to be virtual, so you can override them if you need to. How you guys doing out there? If you have any questions, please, by all means, put them into the channel. Got a really active and supportive community. Appreciate you guys being a part. If you would also make sure you guys join the Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And now here, you need to have your on close, which is here. That's for disconnect, as is, this one's async, so this doesn't matter. And this is my WebSocket client, which means that this start one also needs it, and it has it. So that's the client. We can start, stop. I don't see us being able to send a message yet. Public virtual void send message. Now it's a WebSocket client dot. Let me look at this. Looking at the documentation right now for WebSocket Sharp. It looks like that I just simply do a send in my on message. It's just called send. Wow. We also have send async. Send message async. So we can say that this is send message to all clients in behavior. Asynchronous. And we just want to have a byte or a piece of data and then an action when it's completed. So we could say that this is a string message, and now here we could have another one called a protected virtual void send message to all clients in behavior async callback. So now we could say that we want to send my message and then my send all message to async callback. Second. If you look at send async, then it wants to fire this action So you could do a new action where you could do one of these and then point to send message, I think, right? So here, I think you can do something like this, bool success. So now, will it work? Bam. There it is. Easy, says Sirloin WD. And then let's do the other one above it. Public virtual void, send message to all clients and behavior. String message. I don't ever see where you're setting your URL. This is where you're sending it, new WebSocket. So you're doing it where you're creating the new WebSocket, which you are not. There it is. That would have failed. And now here it's just a WebSocket client.send. And we're just going to send the message. So you have send. You have all of your overrides. You have your starts. You have your stops. You have your events, which are firing. Do you need anything else? I don't think so. Looks pretty good. That's inheriting from iCore, iDisposable, and then we're going to extract the interface on this one. And this inherits from iCore, which means that we don't need to have. And if you look at iCore, this one should be inherited from iDisposable, which means that this needs to have a void dispose on it, which means that this does not need this one, right? Okay. Which means here, iCore, iDisposable, we don't need any of this stuff. We just need that one. Same thing over here on the server. And then we're going to test them. If you look here at this server, this is inheriting disposable, so you don't need that. You don't need these two, just like that. And now you're saying that here you have your on WebSocket behavior event, which you don't need there in your server. Wait. So this one you should be able to do a fire WebSocket event of your sender and your behavior, Is there a reason not to use SignalR instead of WebSockets? SignalR does use WebSockets. It uses WebSockets or long polling based on if the connection is there. I like SignalR as the data access layer between my front end and then like on the web app itself, and then with my services layer on the back end. In terms of going from server to server, I really like to have a little bit more control. So I know that SignalR exposes WebSockets so that you can universally connect to them, although I've had a challenging time with that. So that's why I'm exposing as for third-party connectivity, the WebSocket Sharp, so that anybody can draw from here. Chrome Rat, thank you for that follow. Appreciate that, buddy. If you haven't yet, please click the follow, support the channel. Also, make sure that you guys check out the YouTube where all these videos are at, from the first one up to where we currently are at. And I've posted that up in the link in the channel right now. Thanks again, guys. And make sure also we have a Discord. I can put that link up if we need to as well. But I think we're ready to test it. So over here, we have our test client. Now, instead of doing all this garbage, I think we just have we should have a using my var client equals a new, and now I'm calling it a WebSocket client. And now I should do like client dot, what's wrong here? Go away. There we go. Client dot, and then we should have something here called like set properties. No, it's just start. Oh, but you need to pass in your end of line characters and stuff, don't you? Hold on, hold on. So there's a string here called your end of line characters. Because here, when you're sending this stuff, you have to make sure that you include this. Same thing here. And if I look back at the server, when you're starting this thing up, you want your message, your server name, your URL, and your services. So that looks better. So you need to make sure that here you have string end of line characters. Because here, this is inheriting directly from WebSocket. So when you are getting a message, to do, need to parse for end of line characters. Although these are WebSockets. So, and what I mean by that is that a WebSocket doesn't really need an end of line character. So we'd probably just do it temporarily here. This thing now wants me to do a start asynchronous. And we're going to do a web URL here of this one. And my end of line characters will be. Now, how did we do this before? We did a byte. Let me see, I have a snippet for this. Second. It's under my links somewhere. Got it. Found it. And we want to get the snippet, which would be end of line snippet. Bam. So we don't want this one. We just want to get byte 3 is the one that we want. Then we're going to make a new end of line constant. Like that. Okay, we need to make sure that we're subscribing our events here, right? So we have client dot on. Don't I have like a message event that I exposed here? WebSocket event. On WebSocket event. Right? I guess you'll also do this in your main. You can copy this thing so that you get one to exit your app. We'll add on application exit here. Oh God, I don't need any of this. The only thing we're going to do here is unsubscribe this one right now. And then we're going to do a, well, when you do this, it's already unsubscribing it. So you could just do a console.writeLine while true. So now we could switch here on my E dot. Nope. So now, I thought you had a type in here. Let's put that back in. That was wrong to take that out. Public base, so we'll say Args type. And you had a connection, you had a message, you had an error, and what was the other one you had? That was it. Let's add this back over into Anoon's. So now what we want to do is we want to switch on that. Let's go make sure that our calls in the client that's fine. That's fine. Oops, start async. You shouldn't fire this right. Oh, this is connecting. That's fine. This is args type.connection. Hey there, Starless Jupiter. Thank you very much for that follow. Appreciate that. If you have any questions, again, please put them into the channel. Got a really active supportive community. Geez, you type fast. What's going on? Nice name, by the way. Thanks. I'm working on an RSS routing project. It's in ASP.NET MVC4, as well as with a web API backing it up. And then we're writing in business logic layer into a console app, which is essentially all the different services that are going to be writing and parsing things. We're using SQL Server to maintain our persistent data, and we're using Entity Framework as our object relational model. And then we're using Amazon Web Services and Elasticache for our ephemeral data. So since this is end tier, we can go across the different layers. That's what the memcache server, Elasticache, is doing. And that, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. To do Elasticache, because I can't expose that to the outside world, I'd put up a quick API. and I'm using interface injection to work with it. And then that way I can just take out what data access layer I've written into that web API and just inject it directly into here. Okay, so now here, just switch to ASP Core 2.1 to use SignalR for communication. Yeah, 2.1 compared to 1.1 is very different. But I actually like to use SignalR from a console app. Typically, I usually do a self-hosted app. And then SignalR on my website is only connecting internal network. So that way I'm never exposing anything to the World Wide Web. This one says it doesn't inherit dispose. So this is a virtual, which means that both of these now have this dispose as a override and then a base dot dispose. Okay, let's try to rebuild everything. Yes, sir, or ma'am. We try to use command pattern for the messages. You too? What do you mean when you say command pattern? Tell me more. I use a lot of inheritance for everything. I have a command pattern for that. I'm passing packets across essentially, right? And then inside of a packet, it has a serialized piece of JSON. And then I have a generic function in there that exposes it as a type, so that if you're working with my files on the client services and then you pass in one type, when you make the call, you'll pass in the type of object that you want to return. That looks pretty good, everything built. So our client app looks great. We have it set up so that we're going to connect over here, right? And we can just test this. It's going to say that it fails, right? So on connection here, we're going to have a switch. So we're going to say private static connection args connection events, and you want to do a switch on that again for this one. And you want to do this as an E, and you're going to cast this over as a connection event args as my E. And this needs to be a void. We should rinse and repeat these for the other two. Looks good to me. And then we'll do the same thing here. And then here we want to do this as the message event args as my E. And this one's going to be my error event args as my E. And so now here we're going to say a switch on my E dot connection event type. And now we can say console dot write line WebSocket client is connected. Connecting and disconnected. And then here, same thing. We'll have a message event type here. Hey there, Ziok. Thank you for that follow. Appreciate that. How are you doing today? If you have any questions, please put them in the channel. Guys, if you haven't, please make sure you join us at the Discord, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just paste in a link right now. And then all these videos are up on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/livergulptrying for the beginning of the project up until we currently are at. So make sure you check those out. How old were you when you got your first two? It was 18. One more question. Are you storing the current connection somewhere, and or how to reconnect lost connection handling? I have not done that yet, but I'm going to do that because since this is only a wrapper class for WebSocket Sharp, I'll put a business logic layer behind the fact that manages connections and things like that, because I don't really want to include a business logic layer on this one. This I can use, this module I can use in other apps. This is C#. That's right. Welcome, Keanu. So here we could just do a console.writeLine. I'm going to say message received. And then we want to paste over the message, which is called content or message or data. I don't care about that. Okay, let's run this program. So here, I'm attempting to start it. I am assigning the event. When I look here at start asynchronous, let's try to run it. So it never fired my connecting event, which is fine. So I need to probably put that above connect. I thought this was Java until he wrote console.writeLine. Is it even getting here? There we go. So it is running now. We're going to try to start it, and then it's going to try to connect. But it never fired the events. It was supposed to fire an event here. Let me check it again here. Let's move this one up here. And then where's my callback on this? Start async callback. It's supposed to be on open or on error. Let's try it again. We'll just set this as the startup project for now. That looks good. That looks fine. Okay, it's firing. It's going to say it's... Okay, is it because I'm locking the thread? That's what it is. I'm locking the thread. So to fix this, it's that easy fix. You just do a static private static, and we want to say thread, and we're going to say that this is a worker thread. And so now here what I want to do is I want to say a static void start thread. So I should be able to do like a worker thread equals new thread. And I'm going to do a new thread start of my start thread. What does it need from me there? That's fine. I'm going to do worker thread.start. And then I'll do a static volatile bool is running. Let's try that. Oh yeah, I could use that async main. That won't block that front thread. You're right. All right, so now we got an error. No connection could be made because it actively refused it, which is perfect. We'll say start worker thread. And now let's implement our server. So up here on allie.chat, under my factory, so I could probably just turn everything off here, right? Under program, at the very tippy top, I want to add in here a static I WebSocket server. Let's go ahead and add a reference all the way down here to my WebSocket, whatever, async, da. All right. We'll add the reference. And now in my main, I'm just going to go ahead and comment everything out here all the way to the bottom, just for now. And we can say WebSocket server dot equals new WebSocket server, WebSocket server dot start. We need to pass in the collection there, and then we have this over here in the private. We have the start worker thread. This one. I don't even know if I need a port on this, so we'll have to find out. I think I do. And then this one's going to be a end of line characters, which I don't think we're actually going to even need those. Now we need to have a collection here of our services. And that's going to be a services equals a new list of my. This thing wants a WebSocket service model. So let's go ahead and create one. Like this. We need to have a name, and we're going to say test. My path is going to be test, and my behavior will be a new. Block, comment, chord, block, comment, chord, block, comment, chord, control plus K plus C, block, comment, chord. Oh, so you're saying that I'm doing control K and C a lot? K and D is what I'm doing, not K and C. What's K and C? This one isn't a base behavior, it is a behavior chat. Now, when you make a new behavior chat here, let's just do it out of this thing. Okay, and then we want to add in the behavior var behavior test. I don't know, I did that again. Okay, like that. And then I should have like a set in here or something. And we want to do a set properties on this, and our path is that one. My end of line characters are end of file. That's fine for now. And then we need to do this behavior test. We'll say that this is a behavior chat test. And then here I can pass in this. Well, didn't you make that list somewhere in here? You could make a new list of these things, which is a WebSocket service model. And here you could just pass in your new one of this. Beautiful. So this is path. So this doesn't exist. Actually, we want to leave this one, but remember, it wasn't, it's this path. Just a second. Services here, path. So where you're starting this here, just a second. Are you even using path? I don't think so, and I don't think you're using end-of-line characters. Easy enough. Because now this goes here. And then finally, this one says that set properties doesn't exist. Go ahead and rebuild it. KFC. Says Ziok. Now, for this test, I'm going to just change it so that we're only starting a couple projects. We only want to start test client. In allie.chat. Everything's set up. And so finally up here on our server, we need to code in this event. And here, if we do get a message, then all we're going to do is echo it back. So we'll do a switch and my e.args type. We'll add in a break here, and a break here, and a break. Oh, that one's already done. So here we could do a. Didn't you already do this over in your client? This one. You did. Like that. make sure that you have all these things in here. And now if you receive a message, you're just going to go ahead and probably echo it back here, right? Can't you do a e dot now in this thing you want to actually pass also the hub of what it was that's receiving the message. So here it was your hub prop, and you're going to have a base WebSocket. No, because that's who's sending it. So you can do your, oh, but you don't have sender anymore. So here, let's do object sender, because I know that my sender here can be a behavior chat is what I know that it is of my sender dot broadcast message to all asynchronous, and we want to say message received. Let's give it a try. One error. Build failed. What? Huh? Let me close everything here real quick. We're going to do a clean. Do a rebuild. And I want to look at the two apps. We'll run this one first. Moncas. Monkas. Second here. Found different conflicts. It says ready. Okay, here we go. Easy enough. Okay, that one's running. Yeah, it says that it didn't connect. Now we can try the server. knowyourmemes.com. What is the build error here? Oh, I've seen him before. So we're getting a weird build error here, which is if I look at the build on this thing, we should drop this to 4.52. And that should do it. And that means that also on our test client, we should also drop this to 4.52. And that'll make sense why we were getting those weird errors there. It looks like iCore is a problem there. I saw something. But we can see if we get our connection here. Up here, when you got your client thing running, you never did a console.readline. So while true. And then over on the other test client, we want to say console.writeLine. Press any key to start the server. If my console dot any key, read key, read key. Hey there, L4NCYY. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. If you have any questions, please pop them in the channel. We've got a really active and supportive community. Appreciate you being a part. Okay. So if this read key is equal to 1, let's say read line is equal to 1. And then here you want to do while true, console.readLine. Let's try it again. Do you have a GitHub repo to follow? Yeah, you can check out liver dev trying. Not all of it's up there, just a few things. Press any key to start the server. This looks like this is running. If I look at the program here, I should have on my server, something where I do a start, stop, start, callback. When you look back at what you're connecting to, just a second here. Try it again. So for each one of the services, we want to add it. That looks good. That's going to start it, and then it returns true. So it starts the server. That looks good. So now over here, oh, you have to push 1. That's the reason why that failed. There it is. It's going to try to connect to it. Client is connecting, not a WebSocket handshake response. WebSocket client is disconnected. What does that look like over here on the server? 8109. And back up here on this one. I don't think I have to specify. Yeah. So back here, when this thing is connecting, we could just do localhost. Let's try that. This all looks so familiar, all the stuff I've done a couple of weeks ago. Why haven't I found your channel much earlier? It would have saved me a lot of trouble. Sorry about that, man. This looks like a pretty big solution. It says 47. I've been working on this. This is day 38, I think. We're almost done with the app, though. This is the last little bit. Did it connect? Not a WebSocket handshake response. WebSocket CS line 141. So let me change here real quick my end of file statements. It's my last try. Does not implement string. Okay, almost done. We need to get rid of this end of line characters here. And this one here, start. Okay, let's run it one more time. Last try. Press any key. Try it again. So I just forgot the route it looked like, right? There. Did you see it? Hey, Noonan706. Appreciate that follow. And bam, you can see that our WebSocket client is connected. Everything is good. Everything looks great. On open here, we're going to fire in my client. Over here, I want to do it from the server. So on my server side, when I connect here, when we get a new connection, we'll do this here as well. Right there. And now when we get a connection here, we're just going to send this thing back. Because back on the test out, I should have something which is printing it. So here we go. Why not use an existing WebSocket client? We're using Signal. We're using Discord.net. We're using WebSocket Sharp for the WebSockets, and then we're also using Signal R for our data transform layer. So here we go. Between our front end and our back end. Let's see if it runs. We should broadcast a message across. Message is received. It started. It says that we're connected. But is that not casting correctly? Hold on. Let's just see if this is failing. One more thing. Congrats, you made a fire. It's nice when it connects, finally, right? Hey, it says that everything's connected, and now I should have this event. Where did it go? Try it again. That's the disconnection from, and one more. Last try. Here we go. I saw it do that, but I never saw it fire my connect. If you look here in the server, this is on your client, and on your server, okay, so then let's just do it over here. So now if you get your on WebSocket event here for your connection events, and now we can do the broadcast message here. Let's do it the other way. So we do a WebSocket, what are you calling it? Just a second. Right here, WebSocket client. Let's move this up here to a static WebSocket client. we're going to send a message out here which says test message, all in caps. Let's see. Fleck was pretty fun to make. Oh, I haven't used Fleck. I've heard about it though. That's for doing like a WebSocket chat data transfer layer with a website, right? And here we go. We'll start it. It's connected. We'll fire the event. See, it's connected. And did it receive a message? Over here on the client. It's supposed to right here, and then up at this one when you get your event. Last try. Okay, it's connected here. It's going to try to write that. Okay, it sends it out, but so let's just try to do it without asynchronously. Let's just do one more. We'll just do it like this. Yeah, I hate the delegates. All the events and delegates are scaring me. What do you mean? It's like a standalone server. Yeah, I hated the delegates. Such a thin layer. It doesn't matter. Final test. Here we go. It's going to try to send the message. Still never received one on the other side. So it's connected, but you know what? What if I just left it alone and then I just made another instance run? Oh, you blew that one, so let's do one more. It's for sure not sending anything, even after it says that it's fired on open. Here, we'll just do something like this. If my see? WebSockets always feel so fragile to me. Well, we have a TCP socket up as well. Why do you say that they feel fragile? Do you have experiences overloading them at all? Okay, and then we'll go ahead and run one more. Oh, I definitely don't see it broadcasting, but at least we got our connection, so I'm out of time for the day. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll be back on Monday. I have family things I got to do today. If you haven't clicked the follow, make sure you check us out at Discord. I'll post that link up here, also at youtube.com/c/liverdevtrying. And this video will be going up on YouTube here in 24 hours. I'll figure out exactly what's going on here with the one little connection issue, and we'll get that resolved. So, alrighty guys, I'll see you on Monday. Until next time, have a good evening.